Good morning. Good morning and welcome. My name is Jacob Nadal. I am Director for Preservation here at the Library of Congress, and I bring greetings from the Librarian of Congress, Dr. Carla Hayden. I look forward to participating in as much of this symposium as I am able to, and it is an honor for me to welcome attendees from 7 nations to the Library of Congress to take part in this, the From Jikji to Gutenberg colloquium. It is gratifying that Dr. Faxen-Banda is here today to add UNESCO's encouragement, and it is thrilling to know that, for the first time in decades, the Bibliothèque Nationale de France is exhibiting Jikji alongside 2 beautiful 42-line Gutenberg Bibles in a new exhibition called To Print Gutenberg's Europe. While it is generally recognized that Johannes Gutenberg printed the monumental 42-line Bible in Mainz, Germany, about the year 1455 CE, it remains largely unknown outside of East Asia that the Diamond Sutra was printed from woodblocks in China in 868, or that Jikji, printed in 1377 in Cheongju, South Korea, is acknowledged as the oldest surviving book printed from movable metal type. And while these facts in the history of printing are understood by specialists, your multidisciplinary collaboration is an important step towards converting information that is known to experts into general knowledge. Your work to tell the story of the invention of printing more fully is an example of how good scholarship is also inclusive scholarship. The story of Jikji and Gutenberg is a compelling story of how human creativity can flourish along similar lines in different times and places, and is a powerful statement about our common desire to disseminate our ideas to the betterment of all. It is a compelling research effort that gives us new reason and new ways to ask questions about how ideas were exchanged, or how the choices people make about the means of recording and sharing information both shape and are shaped by their cultural contexts. The Library of Congress has supported this project from its inception and has already benefited from the scholarly exchange as part of this effort. The library now better understands the importance of several Korean types among its distinctive collections. These pieces of metal type are now recognized as being among the earliest surviving examples of Korean cast metal type held in America. The library's conservation division has carefully documented and rehoused this collection and is collaborating closely with the library's Asian division as well as with Korean scholars to gain further insight into the type's age and provenance. Combined with conservation expertise regarding the Gutenberg Bible, the library is pleased to be able to make meaningful contributions to this project. Support from both the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation and the National Endowment for the Humanities speaks to the worldwide encouragement underlying this first face-to-face meeting. This colloquium should help solidify plans for From Jikji to Gutenberg to publish a scholarly 400-page catalog and coordinate multiple exhibits in libraries internationally in 2027, commemorating the 650th anniversary of the printing of Jikji. This collaboration between institutions and UNESCO's International Center for Documentary Heritage in Korea will help make clear to a broader audience what is known about the roots of printing. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful colloquium, and I think now I'm going to hand it off to the real man in charge, Randy Silverman. Thank you, George.
Isn't he wonderful? Good morning. We're finally here. It's taken about 2 years and a couple of grants, and even Jikji's gone on exhibit at the BNF. But we're finally here face to face for the first meeting of the From Jikji to Gutenberg project. I'm so glad to see all of you. For the next 2 days, we have an opportunity to redefine commonly held beliefs about humanity's earliest efforts to print from movable metal type, to decide how to communicate this hidden idea most effectively through our exhibition catalog and the international exhibits in 2027, to offer the general public a clear understanding of our collective vision, and to effectively communicate this to grant readers who move this project forward. So we're all in this together. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. If 2 heads are better than 1, 40 is fabulous. This meeting is long overdue. My hope is our discussions lead to an interesting set of ideas, the kind you would have found irresistible when you were young. I can't wait to see how we choose to communicate this most effectively. Getting to this colloquium has required support from many quarters, and it's my privilege to thank the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Stanford Synchrotron for the Stanford Synchrotron Radiation Light Source, the University of Utah and its faculty small grant program, our gracious hosts, the Library of Congress Preservation Division, and the Joyce D. Burrow Fund that sponsored the colloquium's catering, the UNESCO International Center for Documentary Heritage, and the Jogye Order of Korean Buddhism. But most importantly, and this is sincere from my heart, most importantly, I want to thank each of you for your involvement, for coming together to meet about this important idea, to help us move forward and to shape the way this simple notion that Gutenberg is not the father of printing is going to be carried forward for the next generation. And I sincerely appreciate this opportunity to stand before you and to humbly thank you, because it's through this collective action that we've moved as far as we have already, and that we will succeed in changing people's opinion about that. It is about you. At the beginning, the cameras were a little late getting here, so I thought I would do some banter and stall, and I realized I'm stalling when you're doing the right thing. You're busy talking to each other, which is what this is all about. We're finally coming together as a group, and we're finally meeting each other. There's so much potential in this room. You're such a bright bunch of people. You're hand-selected. You know, you've chosen yourselves to be part of this thing, and it's so wonderful to finally turn out together to have this moment. I would like to introduce Dr. Lee, who will present the next talk in Korean. And we'll try the technology. I think we'll see how this works. You're a test case. Live and learn. Yes.
Good morning. 좀 전에 소개한 이승철입니다. 최근에 제가 챗 GPT라고 하는 프로그램의 성능을 봤는데 아마 우리 프로젝트가 진행되는 와중에 이런 이제 의사소통에 이제 컴퓨터를 이용해서 전혀 문제가 없는 때가 오지 않을까 그렇게 생각을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 또 제가 이 프로젝트를 하면서 좀 영어로 소통할 수 있는 능력을 기르기 위해서 많이 공부를 하고 있는데 아직 부족한 게 많습니다. 이런 국제 프로젝트를 하면서 또 저 나름대로 또 이렇게 발전할 수 있는 어떤 그런 욕심도 생기고, 또 훌륭한 여러분들과 같이 이렇게 같은 주제를 가지고서 전문적인 분야에 대해서 같이 소통하는 것들이 어떻게 보면 새로운 모험이고 도전인데 지금까지는 스스로에게 만족하고 있습니다. 더 열심히 하겠습니다. 아까 랜디가 잠깐 언급했던 것처럼 어제 프랑스 국립도서관에서 직지와 구텐베르크 성경을 전시를 했습니다. 7월 16일까지 계속될 예정이고요. 직지는 이제 세상에 공개된 지 72년도 이후에 50년 만에 처음으로다가 대중에게 공개가 되는 그런 자리입니다. 지금 한국의 정부 관계자나 또는 청주시 관계자 또는 청주 올리 프린팅 청주 고인세박물관의 관계자들은 지금 현재 파리에서 이제 전시와 관련된 그런 그 행사 참여를 진행을 하고 있습니다. 근데 참 아이러니하게도 그 반대편에 워싱턴에서는 직지에 대해서 구텐베르크에 대해서 정말 우리가 진지한 그런 학술적인 토론과 또 이런 연구를 진행하고 있는 것이 한 30년 동안 직지에 대한 연구를 쭉 해온 입장에서 한마디로 말씀드리면 좀 감개무량하다라고 얘기를 할까요? 직지와 구텐베르크 성서는 2001년도에 동시에 세계 기록유산 MOW로다가 픽업이 됐습니다. 그 이후에 사실 많은 돈을 들여서 청주시와 대한민국이 직지를 전 세계에 알리려고 노력을 했지만 노력한 거에 비해서 사실 부족한 그런 부분들도 많이 있었습니다. 그렇지만 그렇게 열심히 하다 보니까 또 이런 그 중요한 어떤 프로젝트가 만들어지고 또 가장 중요한 그 NEH에서 기금을 받아서 우리 프로젝트를 또 추진할 수 있는 그런 기회가 됐고 앞으로 조금 더 이런 것들이 기회가 돼서 우리 프로젝트가 처음 시작됐을 때 의심을 하셨던 분들도 많이 계셨던 걸로 제가 알고 있습니다. 그렇지만 지금 이 자리에 와서는 우리 프로젝트의 어떤 그 진정성에 대해서 의심하는 분은 없을 거라고 생각합니다. 우리 모두 랜디의 노력 덕분이라고 제가 감히 말씀드릴 수 있습니다. 이 자리를 빌어서 감사드립니다. 그리고 우리 유네스코의 사무국에서 이제 세계기록유산 프로그램을 총괄하고 있는 팍슨 반다입니다. 사실 아까 말씀드렸던 것처럼 팍슨은 이 자리에 있으면 안 됩니다. 지금 유네스코에서 한국의 정부 관계자와 또는 청주시장과의 어떤 중요한 미팅 일정이 제가 이번 주에 있는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 우리 직지와 구텐베르크 프로젝트의 중요성을 알고 또 기꺼이 이 프로젝트에 참석하는 것을 선택하셔서 이 자리에 참석을 해주셨습니다. 이 자리를 빌어서 감사드리고요. 또 물론 세계기록유산은 전 세계 123개국에 약 한 432점 정도가 현재 등재가 되어 있습니다. 그 하나하나가 다 중요한 기록유산이고 소중한 그 나라의 유산이다라고 이렇게 말씀드릴 수 있지만 그 가운데에서 직지와 구텐베르크 성서가 갖고 있는 문명사적 어떤 그런 중요성 같은 것들은 당연 으뜸이라고 감히 말씀드릴 수 있습니다. 그래서 이 프로젝트에 기꺼이 참석해 주셨고 또 앞으로 27년도까지 우리 프로젝트가 진행되는 동안 유네스코 입장에서 우리 프로젝트를 적극적으로 후원해 주실 거라고 이렇게 믿고 있습니다. 그럼 팍슨 반다를 소개합니다. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Let me begin by thanking the investor of UTSA Marriott Library, the Library of Congress, and the International Center for Documentary Heritage for inviting me to this scholarly colloquium under the theme From Jigji to Gutenberg. I have, of course, submitted my draft text for the preface to the publication that will inform and arise out of this colloquium. For these introductory remarks on behalf of the UNESCO Memory of the World Program, I would like to expand my preface and focus on how I think a historical understanding of the journey of book printing from the Jigji to the Gutenberg Bible can become an opportunity to promote international cooperation for the preservation and accessibility of what we call documentary heritage. I'll be making a few more remarks about the concept of documentary heritage in a moment. But if I may, I would like to structure my remarks as follows. Firstly, I'll give a short introduction to the Memory of the World program as one of several heritage programs of UNESCO. Secondly, I will argue that placing the Jigji and the Gutenberg Bible side by side within what I may call a meta-narrative of history provides a powerful case for international cooperation in the recognition of the significance of all forms of documentary heritage wherever these may have occurred on the printing continuum. Thirdly and finally, I will conclude by outlining possible lines of action for the Memory of the World program as a result of its association with this colloquium and the resultant publication. Firstly then, why the Memory of the World program? Protecting heritage in all its diversity is an exercise in preserving the memories that have come to define us as humans. Memories of the achievements of humankind and the individuals who created great works of literature, music, and art, the philosophers whose words have heightened our understanding of the human condition, those who have pioneered scientific and technological breakthroughs of lasting benefit to the world, the formation and perpetuation of communities of faith, and the creation and dissemination of their holy books and writings, and of course of political and social leaders and movements whose impact on geopolitical and societal structures has been profound. In this respect, loss of memory can be seen as critically diminishing our identity as individuals and as communities. For UNESCO's Memory of the World program, the focus is on documentary heritage as opposed to such other heritage as natural, cultural, tangible, intangible, or movable heritage. Of course, the subject matter of documentary heritage can indeed be any type of heritage. For the Memory of the World program, then, documentary heritage consists of those documents produced and preserved over time in all their analog and digital forms, and which constitute the primary means of knowledge creation and expression, having an impact on all areas of humanity's civilization and further progress. Against this background, set up in 1992, the Memory of the World program is underpinned by three specific objectives, namely, 1, preserving documentary heritage, 2, promoting universal access to it and its enjoyment, and 3, raising public awareness of its shared cultural significance. In embracing these objectives, UNESCO's member states resolved to adopt a standard-setting instrument that we call the 2015 Recommendation concerning the preservation of and access to documentary heritage, including in digital form. This normative instrument represents UNESCO member states' common resolve to take appropriate actions aimed at achieving the different aspects of documentary heritage, including its identification, preservation, and accessibility within an enabling policy environment underpinned by national and international cooperation among member states and their memory institutions. I refer to member states. The United States of America, we understand, is going to be returning to UNESCO, and that is why it is such a pleasure for me to be here in Washington, D.C. In 1995, to highlight the need for continuous preservation and accessibility of documentary heritage, UNESCO set up, as part of the Memory of the World program, the International Register. It serves as the most visible part of the program and thus functions as a means of raising awareness among the public, memory institutions, governmental, non-governmental, and other stakeholders of the need to create a supportive policy and institutional environment for the protection, promotion, access, and utilization of documentary heritage. Subsequently, in 2001, UNESCO inscribed both the Jigji and the 42-line Gutenberg Bible on its Memory of the World International Register. With the passage of time, the world significance of the Jigji and the Gutenberg Bible has become entrenched. Furthermore, in April 2004, UNESCO established the UNESCO Jigji Memory of the World Prize, which commemorates the inscription on the register of the Jigji as the oldest existing book printed with movable metal type. It is funded by the Republic of Korea through the Municipal Council of Cheonju City. The cash prize is awarded every 2 years by the Director General of UNESCO to an individual, institution, or other entity that has made a significant contribution to the preservation and accessibility of the world's documentary heritage. From what I've just described, it can be argued that the inscription of the Jigji and the Gutenberg Bible in 2001 places both books within a meta-narrative of history. This leads me to my second point, namely that the juxtaposition of the Jigji and the Gutenberg Bible as major byproducts of the invention of printing provides a powerful argument for promoting even greater cooperation as part of a shared recognition of the significance of all forms of documentary heritage derived from the invention of printing. In this respect, allow me to make 3 observations. First, both inscriptions highlight the universality of printing. Printing, both as a technological breakthrough and cultural practice, was dispersed geographically, enabling the world to benefit from its effects on society and culture. This enables us to see the historical evolution of printing from woodblock, cast-metal type, etc., not only as a shared scientific and technological breakthrough, but also as an inflection point for human civilization. Indeed, the very emergency of the public sphere as a forum for people to interact and debate issues of their time was in part a consequence of printing, whether of pamphlets, prototypical newspapers, or books. In other words, printing contributed towards the emergence of documentary heritage itself as an epistemic source in the formation of knowledge systems such as religion, astronomy, philosophy, science, and so on. Second, and linked to my first observation, placing the 2 printing byproducts side by side recognizes that knowledge of printing is not a vertical hierarchy, but a horizontal accumulation of knowledge, skills, and practices that are sharpened through sharing and cooperation. The publication, From Jigji to Gutenberg, is an example of this type of international cooperation. I believe it acknowledges that whereas historical orthodoxy may have suggested that the first Gutenberg Bible introduced the world to movable type, there were, in fact, multiple similar printing traditions across the world, including China, Korea, Egypt, etc., which predated the Gutenberg Bible. Thus, taken together, the Jigji and the Gutenberg Bible allow us not only to have a more complete and accurate historical accounting, but also to demonstrate how interconnected our world truly is. That is why for UNESCO, acknowledging the world's significance of documentary heritage is to fulfill the organization's constitutional provision, which states, and I quote, "The states parties to this constitution, believing in full and equal opportunities for education for all, in the unrestricted pursuit of objective truth, and in the free exchange of ideas and knowledge, are agreed and determined to develop, demonstrative of the need to preserve and enhance documentary heritage, with these 2 books, the Jigji and the Gutenberg Bible, having been digitized for easier access online. We acknowledge that printing resulted in mass-produced printed books, many of which will not be part of our literature review on any given topic. At the core of the technology that led the printing culture, along with the products of that technology, are legitimate questions about preservation and accessibility, largely in response to the need to ensure that the technology and its products can still serve as sources of information and knowledge for our modern societies. In my view, it is for this reason that this colloquium and its associated publication will go some way towards documenting the unique characteristics of movable type technology and its byproducts. Efforts at continued preservation and accessibility of these byproducts are particularly important given the rapid evolution of technology and the challenge of establishing models and processes for preserving both analog and digital heritage objects. Let me conclude then by suggesting that this scholarly colloquium and its corresponding book will contribute to the corpus of knowledge of how book printing and its byproducts of documentary heritage has been and will continue to be implicated in a dynamic of scientific, technological, cultural, and other historical forces shaping human civilization. In particular, by historically charting these printing developments, including highlighting their continuing utility value to produce more documentary heritage, I believe the publication will assist us to develop a more nuanced understanding of how the evolution of printed documentary heritage enables intercultural education and personal enrichment, scientific and technological progress, and ultimately, sustainable development. For us, as the Memory of the World program, what our association with this colloquium represents is threefold. First, the knowledge of book printing and its byproducts of documentary heritage will be incorporated into the program's ongoing educational projects, especially aimed at young people. In October 2022, UNESCO launched a pilot project under the title Fostering Global Citizens Through the Memory of the World. Working with the UNESCO Associated Schools Network, ASPNet, teachers from Ghana, the Netherlands, Indonesia, and the United Kingdom are coming together around pieces of documentary heritage using newly developed tools and resources to empower their students to become global citizens. The teachers are drawn from the fields of language, art, history, and literature. I believe that a historical focus on the Jigji and the Gutenberg as two exemplary products of book printing should go some way towards improving the pedagogical skills of the selected teachers as part of the project's online course. Second, using this colloquium and its resultant publication, we will work with memory institutions, archives, libraries, museums, and other holding places to identify items of documentary heritage that could potentially throw more light on printing traditions in other parts of the world. Thirdly, and lastly, we will attempt to highlight the project to other memory institutions within our network with a view to persuading them to join in, particularly given that the outcomes of the project can become a useful resource for them in their respective mandates of promoting, preserving, and disseminating the epistemological value of documentary heritage. This, I believe, will reinforce the fact that this work is already an exercise in international cooperation involving, I'm glad to note, a multiplicity of disciplinary and institutional perspectives. With those words, then, I would like to wish you the most productive conference, at least since the opening up of the US after the experience of COVID-19. And that is why I am so pleased to be here representing UNESCO and hoping that in the end, the US will be back within the fold of the organization, and that I think will be an opportunity for us to cooperate a lot more with American institutions. Thank you.